Hey guys, it is Carl Brown for GuitarLessons365.com. Got another one from the great Ozzy Osbourne today. I felt like doing this one. I know this is a really popular ballad of his, and I've gotten more requests for Ozzy since he passed away, and I thought this would be a good one. That's obviously a very popular song of his. But it's mostly piano driven, right? So there's some kind of acoustic guitar overdubs and stuff. But I'm really trying to emulate a lot of what's going on at piano. So the piano sections, like we had that little intro, kind of works pretty well on the guitar, and then even in the middle where they kind of really spruce up that piano riff and add like some moving bass line under it, works really well on guitar as well too. So from there on out, we'd probably play it with those just like the verse and stuff, some basic chords, just trying to mimic the voicings of what's going on the piano and stuff like that. So we're gonna take a look at all the chords, and of course Zakk's awesome guitar solo. He never misses with his solos, so we're gonna be taking a look at that as well. Now, before I get into it, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Ring the bell, all that stuff. I always give this speech, I know it's boring, but I could skip it all if you guys just joined my Guitar Academy and I didn't have to worry about it anymore. You're gonna see a link to that in the description below. That keeps everything going. It gives me the ability to have some time during the day to work on these song transcriptions so I can put them on YouTube for free. The only reason I can do that is because people are signed up for my Guitar Academy. And that link in the description will give you 40% off my annual rate, and you'll have that price for life. Even if the prices go up, you'll always have 40% off the current annual rate. And that's a YouTube only link, so you can only get it from there, and you'll have full access. Even if you've never had an account, you get a free 7-day trial, and you'll have full access to the whole academy. Live streams, personalized support from me, all my courses. So there's a lot of stuff over there. Great community. Please come join us. All right, so let's jump into this little opening piano riff. We are tuned down a half step, so this is how this is going to work. It's quite obvious. The guitars and stuff, guitar overdubs are tuned down a half step in the song, and the guitar solo as well. Even though we'll talk about Zakk's, like the videos of him playing, it doesn't really line up, but it's fine. So anyway, let's start with this little intro, and this intro is going to get really cool. Like in the middle, right after the solo, they start doing some really cool stuff with it. But now, if we could put this in a drop tuning, this intro would work really well because it starts with like an A and then down to a low D, dun, dun, like that, but we have to go up. So if we had into drop tuning, that would have really worked, but then the rest of the song wouldn't have worked too well. So got to make a trade-off, really. We're trying to, it's like an arrangement of a piano piece. This is always going to happen. Anyway, so we're starting with the open A and then going to the open D. And then from there, we're going to do this. So that's just happening there. I'll take a look at the notes first. This is 7th fret there on the G string the whole time. And then we're just doing a melody down the B string. So that melody starts at the 10th fret, then to the 8th fret. And a good way to play this is just keep your index finger there. And just move so your ring finger plays this 8th fret here. And then all you gotta do is scoot back to the 7th fret there, on the B string with your ring finger, and then lower your middle finger at the 7th fret there on the G. And then the note on the B string is gonna go down to the 5th fret, so you just kind of leave the other finger there. So you go down to the 5th fret there, and then back to the 7th. So like this. So each melody note's kind of hit twice on the B string. So it starts with this open A, and then the D, and then you can kind of, include, when you're doing the strums, you can make them a little bit bigger so you can add those lower notes to kind of beats up the sound a little bit. Repeat. All right, from there, we get to the first verse. Now, this verse is just really kind of a D major. Obviously, I'm calling everything out like it's just a standard tuned guitar. This is obviously a D flat major chord in the tuning that we're in, but we're just gonna call it just as a standard tuning guitar. I'm gonna try to confuse myself and everybody watching. So it's a D major chord into a B minor. We're doing that a little bit, and then G and E minor. So that's the verse, but The way I'm going to finger these is so we can kind of get that little movement that's going in there. So it's basically, it forces me to kind of play the D major like this, which is far more difficult, I know, than just playing with the open chord. But then, if you do that, you get that little piano riff there. So it sucks going into it the first time, and then it's pretty easy because you can rotate between the D and the B minor really easy. It's just moving to one finger. So the way we're going to do this, we'll bar from the high E across to the second fret on the A. So 5 strings, and then in front of that, third fret on the B, fourth fret on the D, fifth fret on the A string. So you're going to strum the chord. So I'm kind of really trying to get this movement from the second fret on the G to the fourth fret on the D. So that's kind of going around the chord. So you can kind of keep the chord strum. So kind of strum the chord some. So I kind of strum it, then pick the D string, and then I pick G, B, and then strum again. So I can get the vibe of the actual piano riff. And then just take your pinky and move it over to the fourth fret of the G, and the same thing. Then back to the D by just moving that pinky back over. So I think that sounds pretty good. And then we have this little moving bass line. We have just an open A string there. And then we're going to go over to a G major chord played like this, so the full bar version. Because once again, I want those 2 notes to be there. And that will be just a full bar at the 3rd fret. In front of that, we'll have the 4th fret there on the G string, 5th on the D, and 5th on the A. So I'm doing that same pattern again. So the same strings and everything. So you see I'm going back and forth between the 4th fret on the G and the 5th fret there on the D. And then we're going to go to an E minor chord. And that it's those 2 strings that we're picking across there. It's kind of, so you strum the E minor. And I'm just going between that open B and the G. And then we're going to go to an A major chord. And you can just kind of strum the whole thing here. And then what they're going to do is they're going to take this note that's on the 2nd fret there of the B string and move it up to the 3rd fret to make it an A sus4. And then back down to the A. So all together we have this. So you basically do that whole riff. I just started the repeat there, but you do it 2 times the whole way through. And then we get to the chorus, which now we can kind of go to kind of easier chords, kind of strumming. And you can hear more kind of like, well, throughout the song, you can hear like, kind of obviously kind of acoustic guitar overdubs in there, but so you can play it like that. You can play it in a very simple version, but I'm trying to mimic the piano voicings here, so it gets us in trouble every once in a while. Anyway, so the chorus, much easier, looks like this. right, so this is the shortest chorus in the song there. We're gonna start here with just a regular D major chord, yay. Into a B minor chord, so we just cover that. That rhythm is like that. Down, down, up, down, down. So, and then you're gonna take it to an F sharp minor chord. So it's a full bar at the 2nd fret now. And then you'll have the 4th fret on the A and the 4th fret there on the D. So we got this so far. So then we're gonna go to an A, and I'm gonna play this because there's kind of a little line in there with the piano or string section or whatever. And works fine to do it on the guitar. Instead, you can just strum the regular A major there if you just wanna, there you go. I kinda like keeping it all on one string, so it sounds uniform. So I'm doing that by hitting the open A and then barring the 2nd fret across the D, G, and the B. And I'm just strumming those 4 middle strings. And then I'm gonna go up to the 3rd fret there on the B and then the 5th. So that's kind of the last move in the chorus, and you repeat. Back to the D, back to the B minor. And in this first chorus, the 2nd time through the chords, you're not gonna do that. You're not gonna do that. You're just gonna strum an A major chord. And you wanna get that open high E on top. So that's kind of shorter. It didn't do that little move on the A the 2nd time through. It just kind of stopped with a strum. And then it goes back to the same verse again, except it's just played 1 time through the chord progression instead of twice. And then the chorus again. Now this 2nd chorus is just like the first time with this kind of move on the A major chord, a little melody. You're gonna do that the 2nd time as well. So before we just strummed an A, but we're gonna do that same little melody that we did the first time through. So that's that 2nd chorus, 2 times through the whole riff, whole chord progression. All right, from after the 2nd chorus, we get to the bridge, which is just 2 chords. It's that A chord again with that melody on whenever you're playing the A. So we have this. So it just does that 4 times, leading us into the solo here. So we're gonna start just with an E minor chord. And then to that little A major with that melody on the B string. Now when you go to this A, you're gonna wanna mute that string real quick with the thumb. So the first hit on the A, mute with the thumb, that low E, and then you can get it set up for the melody. So it's just that done 4 times, pretty simple. And then we get to the solo. Now before we actually get to learn a Zakk solo note for note, which is fun, we gotta talk about the chords underneath it. So it's pretty similar. This is a bit of a little bit different progression. It uses the same kind of chords as the chorus, but kind of repeats the first 2 like 3 times and plays them sort of like it's played in the verse. And then the final 2 chords are the same that are in the chorus. So to explain that, it looks like this. right, so that was basically just this, that kind of, it's pretty much like we did in the verse. A little, you kind of move back and forth between the D and the B minor, but done 3 times. And then what it's going to do is basically switch to the ending chords of the chorus, which would be that F sharp minor chord, and then an A major, with that little melody on the B string. All right, so that's it for the rhythm guitar part. So now we get to Zakk's solo. So I'm going to play through this solo for you real quick, and then I'll kind of show you how to play it note for note. Oh, yeah! All right, so that is a beautiful solo by Zakk, and he's basically not playing this solo like it's actually played on a recording. So when you see it in the official video, where he's playing it and how he's playing it doesn't match up with the recording. So I think he just forgot how he played it. There's also one live performance that I can find, but it's mimed. It's just the original track, which you have to do a lot of times. They make bands do when you do like TV shows and stuff. So that's a bummer. And even Zakk, when he's doing that, it's a little bit different than when he does an official video, but it seems like he kind of forgot what he was, or where he was at and stuff. Unless he's got like a baritone tuned guitar, I don't know, but which wouldn't make any sense. So we're gonna play this how I'm pretty much 100% confident how it was actually recorded. It's just the fingerings, how they're played, and it's a lot more economical in certain way. And there's certain things where notes kind of bleed over into the others, which I'll talk about, which makes it more conducive to be played in a certain area of the fretboard. So anyway, I think we got it like it's actually recorded, but unfortunately, I don't think they really ever played it live, so he never really bothered to kind of relearn the solo. But he cut a good one in the solo. So this first phrase looks like this. All right, so it's gonna kind of a little bit of noise to kind of start it, just kind of slide down, sliding into start the solo, and he's gonna slide into the 7th fret there on the D string, roll over to the 7th fret on the G, and up to the 9 on the G. And then into a whole set, bend and release. Then you're gonna play 7, 9, and then slide into that 9th fret there on the D strings with this. All right, next phrase. All right, so this one right here, you can hear an audible slide in it. So he starts with the same 3 notes. So that 7th fret on the D, slide, roll over to the 7th fret on the G. And then to the 9 on the G string. And you hear him slide up to 11. Then you hear this note, this G. Now you can play that melody like that, but if you listen close to the recording, you can hear kind of a little bit of a bleed over between those 2 notes, so that they were very, very briefly played heard at the same time. So to make that happen, we have to play it over here. And then we play 10, 12 on the beat. So it's like, and then at first when I did this, I just played it like that, like a slide from a 9 to 11 with some vibrato on it. But if you listen to his vibrato that he puts on that note sounds like it's a vibrato that he would put on something when he's bending a note. So that's why I went back here. So it's a kind of a bend at the 9th fret on the G string, and then a bend and release at the 9th fret on the G string, down to a 7. So we have this. And that would kind of work with the phrasing that's going on. It's going to happen when he brings it up here in a second. All right, so the next phrase. All right, so that's kind of similar phrasing here. So once again, we're going to have two notes that kind of bleed into one another. So we're going to start with this slide into the 14th fret there on the G string. And then you're going to have the 15 kind of play with. You hear the notes kind of ring together briefly. And then up to 17, slide up to 19. And then once again, we have a little, instead of playing this 20th right here, he goes over to the 15th fret on the high E because you can hear it, once again, briefly with that 19th fret. So he's kind of doing that, creates a little bit of dissonance whenever he does that. So I think he's just trying to do that slide effect there. And then up to 17, 19. So we have this. And then we're going to go to a unison bend here at the 14th fret there on the high E string. And then the 17th fret on the B. So you're going to be bending up that 17th fret on the B to match the top note. He does like 4 of them. And then we have the next phrase. So that's going to be a bend at the 16th fret, bend and release at the 16th fret on the G. Pull off to 14, and then to another bend there at the 16. And then, so we have this. And then another bend, release, down to 14. And then we're going to end the solo with a kind of 3-note per string picking lick. There's there's a kind of a unison note in there as well. Looks like this. All right, so we're going to slide into the 14th fret there on the A string. Like this fits really nicely underneath the hands, what he plays right here, and it makes sense. With a little unison that he has in the middle of it. Whatever he's doing in the video just doesn't make any sense. But like I said, I don't think he really cared, but it was, did it really well in the actual studio. So we're gonna slide into the 14th fret there on the A string, and then play 16, 17 on the A, and then 14, 16, 17 on the D as well. So you're just kind of sliding into that first note. Just alternate pick across. And then over to 14, 16, 18 on the G. And then 14, 15, 17 on the B into a bend on that 17th. And Zakk does a lot of his bends with his pinky finger. So we have this. So we have a little unison there. That note, and then it repeats here to start the next 3. And that is it for the solo. So really beautiful solo. A little bit of flash at the very end. Nothing too hard, but it's a really approachable solo for Zakk. I mean, usually his solos are like crazy difficult to play, but he gave us a little bit of a break on this one. So now, coming out of this solo, we'll go back to a clean setting here. We have that kind of piano riff that we had in the intro, but they add a moving bass line under it, which is really nice. So this is the first time we hear that in the song. So it comes out of the solo. This is also going to be played, a variation of this at the very end of the song too. But so this piano riff with the moving bass line, how I've got it kind of arranged here, looks like this. All right, now, so that's really nice sounding. We're going to be going here. Now, when we started the song, when I talked about this piano riff where I wish we had like kind of a drop D thing even though it wouldn't make the rest of the song work too much. If we had that, then we'd be able to do this little descending A to D. Here in this part, they kind of us-in. So it kind of works anyway. And obviously with the drop D, this like just moving bass line wouldn't work either. So so this one kind of can sound quite close to it. So we're going to start with this open A and open D again. And just like we did in the beginning of the song, that part is going to be the same. It's the same as the intro. But here, it kind of works out that we're playing this with this fingering like we were doing in the intro. This 7th fret there with the index finger on the G, and then the ring finger playing that 8th fret on the B, because then we can reach over. You can have that open D in there as well. So I'm playing this, the 8th fret there on the low E string, and then that 8, 7, and then I'm just barring the 7 to get the 7 across the B and the G. So with this. And then right here, I'm going to hit the open high E string. It gives me a little transition note. It gives me a chance to come back here, and which kind of works really well. So I hit that open E, and then I come down with the 7th fret on the low E, and the 7th fret there on the G. Remember, you can have the open D if you want. And then the 5th fret there on the B string, and then back up to the 7th fret there on the B. So like this. And then just take the note on that 7th fret on the low E and move it down 1 fret. So all together. Start over. So a little tricky, but really beautiful little kind of bass line that they added to that riff. Now, coming out of that, it's just we go back into the same verse. So we did that little piano riff a couple times. And back to the verse. And then we get to the chorus again. So this chorus is the same as the previous ones, except it's like twice as long. So it's quite an extended chorus. And then we end the song with that same piano riff that we just did with that moving bass line. But there was that little variation there that he kind of skipped right to a D major chord. So basically, at the very end of the song, you're going to play that riff with the moving bass line twice, but in the second time through, once you get here and before we did that, I just went down to the 6th fret. Instead, you're going to do this. As soon as you get to that note, you're going to reach over and grab the 5th fret there on the A string, and then the 7th fret of the D, and just strum the G major there on the D major chord on those 4 middle strings. So it goes right into it. And that is it for Dreamer by Ozzy Osbourne. Beautiful track, a really great solo by Zakk. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. All right, see you again soon for GuitarLessons365.com.